Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of the Football Pyramid Talk podcast. Back today with Simon and Sterling for what is another episode and another weekend of football in the top 7 divisions. But in the National League South and some Isthmian Premier Division games, we had some FA Cup qualifying rounds, which we will touch on later in this episode. But we'll start off with the Premier League, obviously, one of our main talking points usually, and we'll start off with one of the points you've got down here, Simon, with Amarin. Looks like they're just not at it at the minute. They've lost again, and apparently, I've seen this as well. Glasner's looking like the likely replacement after, it hurts, but a really good start from Crystal Palace. I mean, what do you think's going wrong at United? Because he's not seeming to change his system, is he?
No, the trouble with United is they're rotten from the top to the bottom, I think. And Jim Ratcliffe going in there and gutting the non-playing staff, which they did last year, can't have helped the situation. I think the trouble with Amarin is that he's suffering the blowback from all that, really. And Glasner obviously appeals to United because Palace play the same formation that Amarin seems to be wedded to, come hell or high water. I mean, I feel sorry for Amarin. He looks really, really depressed, and he goes on the telly afterwards and says, "I'm not depressed. I'm just disappointed with what's happening." But I mean, you don't need to be a psychologist to look at someone and think that's someone that's just not enjoying what he's doing. I saw at the weekend that Hertzler was linked with the United job. I mean, he'd be absolutely bonkers to jump out of his role at the Albion and go to United.
He wouldn't go anywhere.
No, I don't think he would. I think it's just the press trying to take 2 and 2 and make 5 from it, you know.
Yeah.
But Glasner's the obvious choice to go in there. I think if it's not Glasner, it's going to be the guy at Bournemouth, Iraola.
Iraola, yeah.
I think they're both, got that Premier League experience now, and I think United will probably make a change because they've got to. They're Manchester United. They can't just keep losing games week in, week out.
Do you think they've actually got the players to play that formation though? Because he plays the same style and the same formation, like you said, but Amarin was one of the best coaches in the world at Sporting playing that system. So is that just going to be the same problems reoccurring if he joins? That would be my biggest concern if I was a United fan, or that's just what I think looking into it. I don't think they've got the players that suit that system.
No, I mean, the fact that you try and play Kahuna and Bueno out in the 2-10s means that you lose Fernandes. He has to then drop back in to deep line, which doesn't suit him. I was a bit surprised that he never left and went to Saudi Arabia, frankly.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced by some of the players at the back. I think they've got a huge lack of pace. And I mean, Brentford exposed that badly on Saturday. I mean, they were just, all they're intending to do, Brentford, was play long balls behind the Man United defence, knowing that they've got no pace there. So, I've said to you before when Brighton have played them that I think we saw Brighton, and then the next game Brighton had was away at United, and I said to you both, Brighton would win that game, and they did, because I could just see the way Brighton were playing at the time, and the way United were playing, they were just going to expose all those flaws in that United side. If they've got any sense, United will get rid of him and get someone that's a bit more flexible, like Iraola.
That's what they should do.
Yeah, I think you're right, Sterling. Going with Glasner probably isn't going to result in too much of a different outcome, unfortunately.
Yeah, because you said about Brentford, I didn't actually watch the game, but you said that they were just killing them with the balls over the top into the channels, weren't they? In the fullback positions, and that stands out to me as one of the biggest weaknesses for United, because they got Dallo, and who's the other fella, the young fella that played Dorgu. I don't mind either of them as players, but I don't think they particularly suit that formation, because neither of them I don't know, not so much Dorgu, but Dalu's not very quick, and you look at Palace, touching on them and how it works so well. They got Tyree Mitchell and Munoz, who are both quite quick, and they've both got the stamina for it. They can go up and down, up and down. And that's what you need for two wing backs. And I don't think Dorgu and Dallo can actually do that. So I think that's obviously why they've got gubbed at the weekend. And I think that's one of the biggest problems.
Yeah, I think you've made a couple of good points there. I mean, the trouble with Dorgu is he's been the least impressive of a very unimpressive United team. But we talked about this last week with West Ham signing in midfield. This guy only played 53 games for Leicester
Yeah.
before United signed him. I mean, he's so inexperienced that, you know, trying to get him to settle into a new country, not necessarily a new system, but a new club, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Okay, he's a Danish international, so you think that would help, but he's still young, and that's that lack of experience really that is the killer for him, I think. So yeah, I think in answer to your question, I don't think they've got the right players.
No.
Yeah. On the flip side, Brentford actually look quite good, but particularly at home, they don't really look great away from home, but they look quite good at home. And I like that striker that scored. What's his name?
Eagle
Yeah,
Igor, isn't it? Yeah. I
yeah.
like the look of him. Actually, I was going to say this. That first goal he scored, or it might have been the second actually, the keeper for United, that's another big thing they got. He's just palmed it straight into his path. You must be fuming if you're a United fan.
Don't get much better with their keeper situation, does it? It's just absolute calamity in that area of the pitch. I mean, I thought it would get resolved when they were linked with Emi Martinez, but he stayed at Villa, which I thought would have been a really good signing because obviously Emi Martinez, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, but they got this is it Lemons guy, but no one's heard of him.
I don't even.
See how good he gets on. I mean, they should start him. I mean, Bayern Deer isn't cutting it really, and Onana's been shipped out on loan to Turkey at Trabzonspor or something like that. But
On Soar, innit?
yeah, something like that.
I
But
think his first game he saved the penalty and was man of the match.
yeah, shows the problem, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
Similar.
exactly. But Sterling, you wanted to talk about how Palace have got a massive result at home to Liverpool. I mean, it's a credit to them. It's a massive result against the champions, isn't it?
Yeah, it links in quite nicely. Obviously, we spoke about how Glasner's linked out there, but like you said about Herzl, Dad, it'd be crazy to go and jump ship for United because they're doing so well. As much as it pains me and all of us, they are doing really well. They've got the players that suit that formation. Eze's gone, and they've got this. Is it Pino that's come in?
Yeah.
Who looks like a little nipper. He looks a good player. So they've actually recruited well. And it doesn't really look like they've slowed down, even though Eze was arguably their best player. And yeah, massive win. I mean, I saw somebody said, obviously it's just taking them, but they said it's like Haramble that they were playing. But I don't even think, I just watched the highlights, but I don't think that's very fair on Palace. I think they absolutely dominated by the looks of it. I mean, all of the first half highlights were just them being whiskers away from scoring. Mateta hit the post with a great strike. Allison made countless saves, and then they went 1-0 up as well. So yeah, I think they thoroughly deserved that. Really, and got their flowers at the end with that late goal, and it looked like limbs for them, to be honest. And I like Eddie Nketiah as much as I don't like him because he plays for Palace, but as a player, I think he's a good player. Yeah, big win for them, and they remain unbeaten. The only side in the Prem and only one of three in the whole country that remain, or EFL anyway, that remain unbeaten.
It's credit to them, isn't it? You know, I mean, even with Europe coming up now, it could be a testament of how they can deal with that. I mean, we saw at the start of the season with Brighton how well we started, and then we saw the decline go absolutely massively down.
That's the big question, yeah.
Yeah, when we started playing European football. So it's the fact of, can their squad depth keep up with European football and Premier League football, on top of, I think they got through in the EFL Cup, and obviously they'll be playing in the FA Cup very soon as well. So it's about that squad depth now, and how they've, brought in enough squad depth to deal with, injuries, which were adamant to happen in European football. You're playing lots of games every week, so it will be tough for them. But I don't know if you wanted to talk about it, Simon, but Liverpool don't really look like they've gelled together yet. I mean, another loss last night against Galatasaray in the Champions League, and a poor result away from home at Selhurst. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of upheaval in that squad, isn't there? That's the trouble. When Slot came in, he didn't really change anything. He only brought Chiesa.
Yeah.
Now there's total revamp, really. Lots of people been complaining that the fullbacks are part of the problem. Frimpong played in place of Salah yesterday, which I don't think went down with the fan base.
Yeah.
They were expecting Salah, and I think Salah expected to play in that game. There's a lot of noise coming out of Germany, particularly from Bayern Munich, about the Prem clubs that have signed players like Wirtz and Voltemade at Newcastle, saying that they're basically paying too much money. Bayern aren't a poor club, but they said we wouldn't have paid the money for Voltemade, and the strong advice to Wirtz was not to leave Germany. So it's early days. I think it's going to be a transitional season for Liverpool. They're not helped by lots of injuries. They got another couple last night. I think Alisson's out at the weekend, and Ekitike looks like he might be missing as well. So it's going to be a challenge for them to assimilate those new players in the squad.
Yeah.
Canate have quite a bad game on the weekend, because I was going to mention for Palace, one of the big things is going to be if they keep Gahey, and I think that would have just been another clear signpost, if that's the right word. Go and get him, whatever the cost, in January. That they missed out in the summer, obviously, and that'll be a big thing for both clubs.
Gahey was quite fuming about the fact that he didn't get the move to Liverpool. I mean, he'd done part one of the medical in London. He was ready to fly up to Liverpool to complete it and sign the forms.
Yeah.
Parish pulled the plug on it. So, but the problem for Liverpool is that not only have they got to wait till January with Canate playing so poorly, but they've got the fact that he could sign a pre-contract with a foreign club in January, and there's clubs like Real Madrid that are showing an interest.
Yeah.
So I think Liverpool are going to have their work cut out to land him. I really do.
Yeah, and they got an injury, didn't they, with their young centre half in that EFL Cup game. He went off in
he's out for a season.
If one Canate or Van Dijk gets injured, they've only got Joe Gomez really as a kind of natural centre half, but I'd say he's probably better as a fullback. Yeah. So it's not looking good squad wise in that central defensive role, is it? But yeah, we'll move on to a change in management in the Premier League. Graham Potter sacked by West Ham, and they have brought in Nuno Espirito Santo, who picked up a decent point away at Everton, probably one of their best results of the season, apart from their win away at Nottingham Forest. I mean, what are your thoughts on sacking Potter and then replacing him with Nuno?
We called it. We actually called it. It was so blatantly obvious to see, and to be honest, the most obvious candidate for the job was Nuno. So I no shock there. And I actually said to Dad, I think he'll suit that team they've got, and I had no surprise to see what's his name up front. God, what is his name? Just
Awkward.
that's it. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. Yeah, I had no surprise to see him up front because he's that big target man that or Nuno had, sorry, with Wood. And to what system he wants to play at West Ham, like he did with Forest, he's going to hit teams on the counter, knock it up to Fulkrug. He can hold it up either side. Bowen, Somerville, who both had really good games, and just hit teams on the counter. So no surprise there. I think it's a good match, really.
Yeah, we watched that match Monday night. I mean, it did descend into a dreadful game of football towards the end. I mean, they're just two poor sides, I thought. They're not very good. I wasn't impressed with either of them. West Ham were good all the time Summerfield was on the pitch.
Yeah.
Potter said afterwards, or around the time of his sacking, that he was fuming in so much that he didn't have Somerville fit for much of the 8 months that he was there. He could also turn that argument around and say, well, why did you keep picking Ward-Prowse? Because he plainly is not quick enough to play in the Premier League anymore. I mean, he's a championship player if ever there was one, that guy.
Yeah, he's living off those free kicks a bit, isn't he?
But even they've dried up, haven't they?
Yeah, he hasn't scored in God knows how long.
Yeah,
But
it was a dreadful game of football towards the end.
Yeah.
It just, the last 20 minutes were awful.
Yeah, it wasn't good, was it? wasn't a great watch. But what I noticed really was how he changed the midfield so much. I mean, he completely dropped Ward-Prowse. He put that Rodriguez guy on the bench, didn't even come on. Socek, who I doubt will be playing a lot under the system he wants to play, was suspended for the game. And he brought in Paqueta, Fernandez and Mangasa, who were just more quicker. They're more fluid on the ball. And you saw that in the system he played at Nottingham Forest with Gibbs White, Elliot Anderson, and they've got that Sangara guy in there now as well. So, you're sort of seeing how you're getting kind of similar sorts of players, if you get what I mean, suiting the system he wants to play. I mean, he played Bowen up top, and then Somerville obviously been brought into the side, and we know that he's got a lot of quality in him, hasn't he? So I think he'll set the league alight at some point because
Yeah.
no reason, did they? And Bowen's got 3 in his last 4, so I think he'll really suit the way that Nuno Espirito Santo wants to play football. So I think it's a really good placement from West Ham, and I think they would have had that plan, seeing Nuno go and how badly West Ham had started under Graham Potter. You'd want to change your manager to someone that just got Nottingham Forest predicted to go down the season before into a European competition for the first time in God knows how many years. So
Yeah, agree.
I think it's smart, to be honest. So
It was a bit poor, really, how they kind of fed. I mean, I found it slightly funny, but because it's Potter and he left Brighton because he thought the grass was greener. But really, from a human and just a standpoint of like a manager watching another bloke just get fed to the wolves like that, they just sent him out there to the press. I think the day before, oh no, sorry. He did the press conference for that game. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, and then he got a couple hours later.
Yeah, I don't know what day it was, but yeah, he did the press conference, didn't he? And they must have known that Nuno was coming in. It must have been basically almost done, and they just fed him to the wolves. They were taking little digs at him and having jokes about these memes that have been going around. All right, as I said, it's funny because he thought the grass was greener at Brighton, but for the bloke himself, I mean, that's just. I thought that was really poor, and we touched on West Ham's owners. They were screaming "sack the board" and some other choice words. You could hear it on the telly. So maybe that's another reason they don't seem to have much compassion there.
Well, they're a terribly run football club. We talked about that last week. And they've got no overarching vision of what they want to do, and then that's the way they treat people. I mean, I think the West Ham fans are planning a boycott of the next home game. I don't know whether it's one where they're going to come in after a certain period of time, or whether it's one where they're just not going to turn up.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
They hate the stadium. They hate the people running it. You know.
They don't turn up anyway, do they? You can't fucking hear any of
after
them.
one goal, it's gone. Half the ground have gone after one goal.
You can't hear any of them. They got on forever blowing bubbles over the megaphone.
Yeah, there you go. But we'll finally touch on our beloved Brighton Hove Albion getting a huge away win away at Chelsea. Massive result for Hersler, and we saw a rare sight, in my opinion, of passion when Welbeck scored that third goal.
No, I think he always shows passion. To be honest, I think I always see him show passion, but he sometimes shows it in different ways. He doesn't always celebrate goals.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a rare sight of passion, like, compared to Roberto De Zerbi, you'd see him doing stuff like that just on a regular basis, wouldn't you? But that red card massively changed the game. Chelsea were on top for that whole first half. We see shots flying in left, right, and centre. But the red card was a red card, and that massively changed the game. What do you think of the performance from Brighton as soon as that red card happened? Because it completely changed the way that the Albion were playing.
Yeah, I think people are discrediting Brighton a little bit with the red card. Of course, it changed the game, but I think Gomez is going to go and score there anyway, so it'll be 1-0.
Yeah, 1-0.
And the
Yeah.
fact that they didn't even, or what was his name, Hooper? Is it Simon Hooper that was the ref? Whatever
Yeah.
twat it was. The fact that he didn't get that right in normal time.
They always need VAR. So bad.
It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing.
So bad.
Anyhow, yeah, I think people are discrediting Brighton a little bit. Regardless, yeah, very slow first half. I didn't watch it. But, I mean, we had no shots on target and two shots overall. But the second half was really good, you know. Took our goals well, kept knocking on that door, and eventually got the fruits of our hard work, and the limbs looked crazy.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
A lot of people criticising the Chelsea manager after that game yet again for the way he responded to the going down to 10 men, because they brought Achapong on for Santos, which made sense because he'd lost the Chalobah.
Bloody hell.
But then about 5 minutes after that, he brought Gusto on for the other guy on the other side, Estavo.
It's about.
So a lot of criticism for that. I mean, I thought Brighton played really well when they went down to 10 men, and I think that's just testament to how well coached they are, because they just kept going through the system that they wanted to play. They didn't really care what changes Chelsea made. They just stuck to their guns, and I thought they well deserved their win. The thing that boggles my mind is the quality of the refereeing in that game was a disgrace.
Yeah, it was.
Disgrace. I mean, the fact that he had to be told by VAR that is actually a chop and a red card is one thing, but then kicking someone in the head.
Yeah, that decision's absolutely crazy.
That was absolutely. If we didn't win that game and that result went, oh my god, I wouldn't. You wouldn't have heard the end of it, would you? Absolutely.
The thing that made me laugh as well, I don't know if you caught it on the highlights, but when Welbeck scores that third goal, and Yossi takes his shirt off and runs over to the Brighton fans.
Yeah.
Right at the end, Hooper runs up to him, shows him the yellow card. Welbeck pats him on his bald little head as if to say, well done, you got something right. You've done nothing right all game. You've got so many things wrong, but you've booked me for taking my shirt off. Congratulations. Honestly.
Yeah. Hopefully it can be the springboard for Brighton, and I was happy with Hurtzler's subs actually, because it made sense he put Simas and Welbeck on up front and went to almost two up front, even though I think Simas was pulling a bit wider. Put Gruder on, very attacking, which is what we needed, and yeah, it worked well. It was exactly what we needed, as I said, and they made the difference ultimately, and it's good for Welbeck to get a couple of goals as well because he'd had a bit of stick, but I keep faith in him. He was so good last season, and he is just that guy. He's that guy who helps.
The main guy, Pedro, absolutely pocketed by Van Eyck, rock solid
Yeah,
main man, giving it jip about him being the main man, and he got absolutely pocketed, mate.
yeah. I liked all of our boys giving it beans because that big scuffle. Dunk looked like he was ready to wipe that bloke out. That baddie of shoe. He looked fuming.
Gotta go.
He was about to go.
And then
Well,
Kai
apparently,
bashing Van Eyck as well. They were
yeah.
on.
Apparently, I think not João Pedro, but Caicedo and Cucurella. I mean, I know they were getting a dog's abuse, rightly so, from the away end, but apparently they were being really weird, like trying to stare the away fans down and stuff, and then
What?
yeah, they got what they deserved. But
Yeah.
there's definitely a rivalry there now, which is good, and it was very sweet to beat them.
Oh, it always is, isn't it? Always sweet to beat someone that takes all your players, really, and
stuff.
And stuff, there you go. But I'll end it on a positive note there on the Premier League and move on to the Championship. Sterling, you wanted to talk about the Saints versus Borough game, top of the table clash.
Yeah, Borough proving really to everybody that they can compete up the top and that they're going to be there to stay this year. Draw away, Southampton's not a bad result at all. They went 1-0 down as well. So that was a really good result. And I think it sends a message out because we spoke, didn't we? Well, Dad made the point about them not having the parachute payments and whether they'll maybe tail off. But I think that shows. But on the flip side, Saints, they're struggling 14th on 10 points, 4 draws and then 2 losses and wins. It's not the start that Will still wanted. And I think potentially it's just a case of a little bit more times needed. They have had some notably tough fixtures: Ipswich, Borough, Stoke. Just to name a few, they played Wrexham as well, which they actually won. But they've had some tough games. But I think it's just for Saints, he's going to need a little bit more time to embed his philosophy. But what do you think? Because they obviously would have wanted to start a bit stronger.
I think he's one of the brightest talents in English football, and he's at the right club. It might not come to fruition this season, but it will next season. I think almost if I was a Saints fan, I'd be thinking to myself, I'd rather go up next year with a year of his coaching under the players' belts. I think it is Middlesbrough's year this year, and it'd be good for that area of the country to get them back in the Prem, especially if Sunderland stay up, because you'll have all 3 of those clubs up in the North East up there. So
Yeah,
there'll be some tasty games there.
yeah.
Yeah, but it was a good result for them last night as well, Southampton. They beat Sheffield United, I think, didn't they?
Yeah.
Race. So that was a good result for them. And I think it's the matter of sort of implementing his style, if you get what I mean. In the fact of, like, I'm not like fully aware of how he plays, but I think it's quite a, complicated way he wants to play, if you get what I mean.
I think you're right. I think he's out the Hertzler school. I think he's a systems guy as well, in so much that not a systems guy, but a culture guy. I think he will want to change the culture of the club.
Yeah,
that makes sense, because that's what Klopp did at Liverpool. It wasn't so much what he did to the team; it's the culture around the club. And that, just touching very briefly back on United, that's one of the problems United have got, is the culture at that football club. It's abysmal. You don't make 400 people or 200 people redundant and it not affect the culture. I was going to talk about Sheffield United because that's obviously the Southampton beat, because they got their first win at the weekend, beating Oxford. And I thought, one stat I saw that really surprised me, the first game they won since they beat Bristol City in the playoff semi-final way back in April.
God.
So there's a huge problem there. And I
Yeah.
thought after that result they might have turned things round, but last night apparently Wilder got sent off for kicking a ball into
Yeah.
the stands.
Saw that. That was really
And,
harsh,
you know,
though.
well, I don't know if it was because it could have hit someone in the face and really hurt them. The fact that it hit a bloke and he laughed it off is irrelevant, I think. I mean, he did it because they were awarded. Southampton were awarded a penalty, which then Southampton missed, by the way. You know, and if we're talking about the culture at the football club, and we're saying how Steele wants to change the culture at the football club, then Wilder, what does that say about the culture at the football club that he's exhibiting there? He's shown no control whatsoever. He's let himself down, and he's let the club down in lots of people's eyes. And yeah, I don't know about them. I mean, both Sheffield clubs are in trouble. I think he's obviously got the wherewithal to turn it round more at Sheffield United, but yeah, it was interesting to see him get beat last night as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is a tough game for him, notably. But yeah, they do look like they have some fundamental problems. But I do have faith that he'll turn it around. He knows the club inside and out, so it's not really gonna take them that long or him that long to kind of implement what he wants out of the team. And he's got the fans on his side; they love him. So I think in terms of that, it was probably because they're going to want to be up the table. That's always where they've wanted to be and what their goal's been. So it was the most sensible choice in my eyes to get straight back in to just hopefully get them up, definitely get them up the table, and then obviously get promoted.
Yeah, I mean that division, you can be bottom half of the table at Christmas and put a run together. So yeah,
It's what Lampard did at Coventry last year. When Lampard came in at Coventry last year, they were near the relegation zone, and then he managed to get him into a playoff spot. So, I mean, Chris Wilder, he'll have to back into the fans. I remember seeing the celebrations, obviously, of getting their first win away at Oxford, and fans are just chanting his name. He's absolutely loving it, patting the badge and all sorts. So he clearly, it means a lot to him, if you get what I mean, because he's a local lad, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, he gets what the club means, if you get what I mean. Obviously, he knows, being the manager there 3 times recently, they'll want to be way higher up in the tables. It's a factor of, can he get the results which he got last season and bring it into this season? And I think I can see him doing that, but it's just a matter of time. Now they've gone from one manager to the other. Wilder hasn't had a pre-season with the squad, but 75% of them will know how he wants to play. Yeah, it's an interesting one, and it will definitely be one to look at how they crack on, isn't it? Because it was an interesting appointment to bring him back for a third time. Yeah, we'll move on to Coventry, who I wanted to talk about, going a little bit under the radar, continuing their really good run of form with a 3-0 home win versus Birmingham, who spent a lot of cash in the summer, so it's not like they're a poor side in this division. But do you think they can push for a promotion spot so far? Because they're one of the only 2 teams in this division to be unbeaten so far.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely push for promotion. Whether they get a little bit higher is the question, but I think undoubtedly they'll be in and amongst the playoffs for sure. And yeah, done really well to go unbeaten. As you say, Birmingham are a really good team in this division now. I know they just come up, but they have spent the money, like you said, and they've got a really good team. So it was a really impressive and a statement victory, really, for Coventry. Birmingham did get a red card though, didn't they? So I don't know how much that changed the game, but they've got a good set of fans, so no surprise that surprise it was 3-0, but no surprise really that they won that game because they've got a good set of fans. And Coventry as a club, they have been building for quite a good few seasons now. You know, they had a couple of seasons ago. Well, last season you touched on it, got in and amongst the playoffs. Did they get playoffs in the end and then
Yeah,
lose in semis?
and yeah, lost Sunderland.
Yeah, so there you are. Oh yeah, that's right. They had that good game. Yeah, they had playoffs last year. 2023 went all the way and they should have got to the final of the FA Cup, and they were in the playoff final, weren't they, when Gyökeres was there? So they're definitely going to be thereabouts for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's credit to the manager, Lampard. I think lots of people would have doubted him when he came in. He hasn't really had a positive time at Chelsea, and I mean, the only real good managerial stint he had was at Derby in the Championship. So he's come back into this league and shown why he's a good quality manager at this level.
I do think he's a little bit. Sorry, George. I do think he's a little bit hard done by with what they say in general, but what they say about his time at Chelsea, because he didn't do awfully there. There's definitely been there's been worse Chelsea managers, and you look at Gerrard at Villa. He did rubbish because they were right down the bottom. But I mean, he got them Champions League. He brought a lot of youth players through and built them up really well. And I think, Dad, you speak about Will Still and type of manager he is. I think that's a big thing about Lampard. He gets the best out of players, and he really knows how to build players up. De Zerbi was very good at it at Brighton, and it is a good trait to have, a really good trait to have as a manager. Lampard seems to be able to get the best out of players and young players as well. He seems to really be able to allow them to reach their full potential.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think he's. I mean, you said, Stone. I think you're right. They are a club that's on the up. They've sunk, really low in the back end of just before COVID, 2017, 18, 19, that sort of time. And then since then, they've slowly been building back up, and they're all centred around the ground, from what I can gather, because they built that stadium, and then previous owners' mismanagement meant that they couldn't play there, and they were playing away their games at other clubs' grounds, and obviously not going to lead to success on the pitch with that sort of thing. But the new owner brought the ground back, and ever since then they've been on the up. I mean, they traditionally have been a very big football club, back in the 80s and 90s they were in top division, so they're more than capable. They've got the support there to get themselves back up there. So, and I think you're right, Lampard is that sort of charismatic sort of manager that if you're on the right side of him, he's going to get the best out of you. And they've got that guy Victor Torp playing midfield. I think they're starting to push him further forward, which means he's starting to score a few goals. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to some of the games in the Championship when some of these teams that are starting to separate now meet each other. So that would be quite an interesting set of games when they come round.
Yeah, definitely. So it's definitely a league to look out for. Like all 7 leagues we touch on, they're all entertaining leagues in themselves. But yeah, as you said, Victor Torp's had a really good start to the season from midfield. 5 goals so far. So joint top goal scorer with Haji Wright, who's quite a. I don't know if you remember him scoring in that Wolves game in the FA Cup when they went on that run, and he's still bagging in the goals for them. And a second in the league now. They've overtaken Stoke, who've obviously still had a really good start, but they've had a really positive start, and I think the top 3 have probably surprised quite a lot of people how well they started. Quite similar to League One, which we'll move on to in just a second. But Lampard's a good manager at this level, and I think he'll definitely be in with a fight of getting this squad, a good quality squad, into the Premier League. And I think when they get there, as you said just a minute ago, Stern, they've been pushing for it for years now, and it's the fact of if they can get there, I think they'll be able to stay there just because of how long they've been pushing for it for. So
yeah,
up massively, and it's a really good start for them and Lampard. So we'll see how they crack on in the next couple of games. We'll move on now to League One, and Sterling, you wanted to talk about a 5-goal thriller, Leyton Orient 2, Stevenage 3.
Yeah, Oscar will be fuming again, my mate Oscar. I think Dad's also going to be fuming because Aaron Connolly got back on the score sheet. On the boy. Yeah, they went 1-0 up actually in that game, Leighton Orient. Aaron Connolly, I don't know, I think that's maybe his third goal of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually ended up losing 3-2. But Stevenage have had a good start to the season. I was surprised when I was looking at it because they've only lost one game and drawn one game all season. They've won 7 games out of 9, and they're sitting second in the league. Another good result for Stevenage, but keeps proving to be a difficult season thus far for Leighton Orient. And they actually had 62% possession in that game and only had 5 shots and 2 shots on target. So that's going to be the real concern. And, you know, when we're doing this podcast, our main knowledge is in the Premier League, and we know a bit more about Worthing and Lewis and a few teams here and there. But I don't know loads about Leighton Orient. But looking at it, I think they've scored 8 goals all season. Didn't actually put that in my notes, but I believe it's. Oh no, sorry, that was Crawley that I was thinking about. I'll touch on later on, so ignore that. But they're obviously not picking up. Creating many chances and not picking up many wins. So big concern for Leighton Orient. But yeah, Stevenage as well. Really good start.
Yeah, Stevenage, I think, is one of those clubs that if you don't know anything about them, it's not a surprise, really. They sort of slip under the radar, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that game was actually a lunchtime kickoff. They were top of the table for a while before Bradford won later on in the day. Alex Ravel's the manager there. I mean, it's just testament to a well-run club, I think. I think, the fact that they're not on anybody's radar, yet they're second in the table and could well be playing in the Championship next season. But, I mean, I know Aaron Connolly scored, but they lost, so what? You know what I mean?
Still scoring goals.
Yeah.
I'd be impressed if he scored a hat-trick and they won 3-0, but he scored, they lost, so, yeah.
There you go. That top 3 hasn't changed, has it? I talked about it last episode. How surprising that top 3 is. I think it's Stevenage, Lincoln, and
Bradford, isn't it?
that's it.
Bradford top, yeah.
Isn't it? That top 3. I mean, who would have thought that at the start of the season? It's mad. I said it last.
Definitely not us. None of us predicted that.
Yeah, I think we predicted that. I think we might have had quite a few of them down the bottom, but we'll have to hope and pray that the predictions come true when we react to it at the end of the season. But yeah, another brilliant result for Stevenage, and it's not been a great start for Leighton Orient. I think they're going a bit below what they would have expected from last season. They got in the playoffs last season, and now I don't know. I think they're like lower mid-table. I'm pretty sure off the top of my head. So it's not been a good start, and the fans will. I think they're missing Charlie Kelman, who they had last season. He was really good for them in League One, and I think he got a move elsewhere. They replaced him with Aaron Connolly, Simon, who I know you have really good thoughts about him. So, but
biggest fan.
biggest fan, Aaron Connolly's is Simon. But
there's another ex-Brighton striker that I wanted to talk about because Lawrence Lodge scored twice for Plymouth. I know I talked about Plymouth last week. I'll have to make a mental note not to talk about them next week. But yeah, they got that was a decent result, I think, at the weekend for them. And the fact that he scored a couple, he didn't play a single game for Brighton, by the way. But it just
scored loads of goals in the Premier League too, though. Loads of goals.
Yeah. But they made a really bad start to the season under Cleverley down there in Plymouth, but they've turned it round now with 13 points from the last 6 games. So that's playoff material, if not better than that. So they've started to inch their way up the table. Still 15th, but starting to turn things around there. So it'll be interesting to see how he progresses, because it was it's a bright start. I mean, he was playing for Aldershot Town back in 2024, so
years ago, I remember in the I think it was the FA Cup fourth qualifying round. He scored a brace against Lewis.
Oh, did he? What, for Aldershot?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a decent record there, 19 goals in 44 games. And, really, what you're looking for from a striker is scoring every other game. So that's sort of in that area, isn't it? So,
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see Plymouth's progression under Cleverley.
Yeah, we touched on him quite a lot in the first few weeks and saying how it was a surprise. But yeah, it's good really to see him picking up a few more points because we were speaking about how he might be in danger of actually losing the job. Yeah, but he seems to have pulled it around, which is it's interesting. They're definitely one to look at then in that league.
Yeah, we have talked about them a lot, haven't we? Just because of the way they started, because it was really disappointing. They brought in a new manager who was a decent quality Championship manager last season at Watford, and then obviously they pushed on near the back end of last season. The fact we've talked about them a lot shows that they're a really interesting club to talk about because of the way that they've started the season. Obviously, they started off the season terribly, and it's no surprise that they've only pushed on up into 15th with their recent form, which is starting to turn around with Cleverly. So, it'll be really good to see them push back up the table because they're a really good fan base, which I see from Pie Face's Matchday vlogs. Good support home and away. So, yeah, it'll be good to see them push up the table, and it's an interesting situation at that club, and I think that Cleverly has a point to prove there, doesn't he? Just because of the way he started and fans being on his back, and now sort of picking up results and sort of proving that the doubt was wrong, if you get what I mean. So
Yeah, and they're one of the teams that come down from the Championship, so there'll be massive expectations to bounce straight back up, and yeah, he'll be wanting that for himself as well.
exactly that, yeah. But we'll finally touch on something I wanted to talk about: Wimbledon having a really positive start of the season. We've talked about how well, what was it, Doncaster, Bradford, and now Wimbledon, who we're going to talk about now, have started off really well. Not the same for Port Vale. I think they're near the lower half of the table at the minute. But big 2-1 home win at home to Wycombe, 2-1. Do you think it's a chance of them getting playoffs? Because it's been a surprising start, but it's 4 wins on the bounce now.
I'm not sure. Whereabouts are they sitting in the league? Sixth?
Just playoffs, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the early start to the season suggests that. Yeah, it's going to be tough. There's some really good teams. We spoke about Bolton in previous episodes who are kind of creeping up there and had a bit of a slow start. Plymouth, who we just touched on, I think they'll eventually be up there and thereabouts. Cardiff, who have now dropped down a few places. So there's going to be a lot of competition there. But I don't see why not, especially if they can keep this form up.
Yeah, it's a lovely community club, I think, AFC Wimbledon, so it'd be nice to see them doing well. I just worry that the Championship maybe is a level too high for them. There's a lot of water got to go under the bridge before we're talking about, teams cementing places in the playoffs. The weird stat about Wimbledon is that they've not drawn a game all season. They've won 6 and lost 4, which is a really odd statistic. So it's all or nothing with them. 14 scored and 12 conceded. So yeah, we keep an eye on them. We won't talk about Plymouth next week.
Yeah, we're starting to get into Bolton territory, aren't we? Talking about
Yeah.
But
I'm thinking about Bolton. We've started doing. I was like, how did they get on this week?
yeah,
They've got an affinity to Bolton now.
avid supporters of them now. But yeah, it was a good result for them, and I just wanted to touch on them because we speak about how well the other two sides near the top of the table have started, but they sort of creeped into the playoff spots, if you get what I mean, out of nowhere. There's just 4 on the bounce, so it's been 4 brilliant results, and it's clearly climbed them up at the table massively. Matthew Stevens, 5 goals, 2 assists. He had a really good season in League Two last season, so he's clearly continued that form. And I got down here on my notes that their whole front seven in their 3-5-2 formation, so the five and the two, have all got either a goal or assist so far this season. Shows they're good going forward. They're clearly creating chances and getting assists and goals from all different seven going forward spots in the pitch, if you get what I mean. So clearly linking up well, and only lost one game at home all season. So we say it quite a lot how important home form is in just in football in general, and they're clearly showing that at the start of this season. So credit to them. But saw a sacking from Wickham. Michael Duff coming in. I don't know if either of you know him from his playing days. Apparently, he's quite good at Burnley, but he replaced Mike Dodds, who was absolutely tragic time at the club. I think he's only there for 3 months. So they've had a change in management. 2 wins, 1 loss so far in his first 3 games. So I don't know if either of you want to talk about Wickham's start and how Duff might change how things are going there, because they're not really a side that should be that low down in the table, are they?
No, they are quite a traditionally big club for this level, so there's no surprise really that they changed it based on the start to the season they've had. And I don't know about this guy from his playing days, but you said what, two wins and a loss from his first 3 games,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
good signs. So yeah, I mean, they'll definitely be hoping that they can progress up the table a little bit, and that's early signs that they will.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I barely remember him playing for Blackburn, but I know he was in charge of Huddersfield, and
Yeah.
I think he lasted just over a year there, but he oversaw a disastrous run when they were in the playoffs, and then he lost 4 games out of 5, and they just sacked him. So doesn't augur well for Wickham, unfortunately for them. But they're a club like Stevenage that, they sort of go under the radar. I think they get into the Championship every now and again and then go straight back down to League One. But they traditionally are, as you said, Sterling, one of those teams that are sort of doing well in League One. I'm not sure if he's going to be the team that's going to turn them round.
I
Yeah.
think there's a lot better teams in the division this season than Wickham, and
Yeah.
and even, to be honest, Wimbledon. So I don't see either of them getting promoted. I think it's going to be the Cardiffs, the Boltons,
Yeah.
potentially Plymouth, but probably not even them. Bradford maybe, they're doing well. So
Yeah.
it is an interesting one. Again, as you said, George, there's twists and turns to come, and there's always different bits from different leagues that have their own quirks. So
Yeah.
definitely interesting.
Yeah. It's a competitive league, isn't it? Big club league, haven't they? The likes of the clubs you've just mentioned. Wickham will probably be trying to battle with some of those clubs, obviously being in the Championship a few years ago. They'll want to be one of those teams that's battling near the top with clubs like Cardiff, clubs like Bolton, clubs like Bradford at the minute, etc., etc. We'll see how they get on with their new manager, and we'll keep a close eye on that. But we'll move on to League Two. Tony, you wanted to talk about, you briefly talked about it, given a hint of the 8 goals. Crawley versus Barrow, another loss for Crawley, 2-1 to Barrow.
Yeah, so a bit of foreshadowing from me. It was almost like I did it on purpose. Yeah, I mean, start off with that. The 8 goals scored all season, and I think it was about 17 conceded.
Yeah, tragic.
Both of these two teams are in the bottom half of the table. Crawley would have been identifying this as a game that they need to be winning and that they can definitely pick up a win, but it seemed pretty uneventful for them, actually. They went 2-0 down and then scored their 1 goal in the 68th minute or 60-something minute. So, really, I mean, put off a late fight, but went out with a bit of a whimper by what it seems. And yeah, they scored 8 goals all season, and I noticed that Danny Cashman wasn't even on the bench. So, you're looking for goals.
Not got him on the bench.
You've
Yeah.
not even got him on the bench, who was one of the best players in National League South last season, banged in the goals, and the season before. And I know that jump up 2 leagues is significant, but Danny Cashman was in Brighton's academy. And you're telling me that a good coach can't mould him to be a League Two striker? I don't see it. Because they've obviously bought him for the reason of they think he's good enough to play in that division. And I think a good enough manager would definitely get him scoring goals. I mean, when they did play him the other week, they had him playing right wing, which just doesn't make any sense to me. All
Yeah.
right, he could do a job there, but you want him running in behind and getting it in the pockets. He's good on the half turn. He's good at dribbling. He's fast. You want him in front of goal. He's a good finisher. So that was a notable problem from me just looking at it. And yeah, they've lost 6 out of 10 games already this season, so it's concerning for Crawley, and they're one of the local sides to us. So maybe we'll get out there and kind of be able to pick it out ourselves what the problem is. But that seems to be the glaring issue for me looking at it: the goals not scored and the goals conceded.
The thing you got to bear in mind with Crawley is that the people that own that club now are heavily into the analytical side of things. And was Cashman signed because the manager thought I can see a player there that I can mould into my system, or was he brought by the club because the data analytics said this is a good player that's playing below his level, we can monetize him or use him? And the manager's struggling, like you said, Sterling, playing him on the right wing. We saw him a couple of times last season. He definitely needs to play in that 10 role.
Yeah.
Or
Definitely.
as a striker, I think, but yeah.
Yeah.
It needs to be playing centrally.
Yeah.
And yeah, data sometimes can send you down the wrong course, but I think in this case it's both of what you said. I think yeah, the data would have picked him out and the manager probably would have thought, oh yeah, there's a player there that I can mould into. Well, you'd think anyway that you could mould into a League Two quality number 10 or a striker, but it doesn't seem to be working out for him, which is actually really disappointing.
Crawley's saving grace at the moment is that there's clubs like Cheltenham in that division, but the trouble with that is that Cheltenham now have gone back to Steve Cottrell, haven't they? They signed.
Yeah.
He was made manager yesterday, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he won 3 promotions with them, took them to the FA Trophy final. If anybody's going to turn that team around, it's going to be him. Crawley need to be looking over their shoulders about clubs like that, because they're going to find themselves deep in trouble if they're not careful. I wanted to talk briefly about Notts County, because you'd expect them to be doing a lot better than they are. They lost to Crewe at the weekend, 96-minute penalty.
Ooh.
The manager there was bemoaning the lack of consistency with the team and talking about how they are dominating games, which they did in that game, and still not finishing teams off. They're one of the teams that I was expecting to do a lot better than that. But it really is up and down. It's a win, loss over the last 5 games. That win in the middle was against Crawley 4-0.
Yeah, shock.
Yeah, it's not a shock at the minute, is it? But you touched on Cheltenham. I was going to talk about him briefly on how their interim manager got absolutely 7-1 to Grimsby, which is absolutely tragic. That is, I mean, 7-1. I mean, we went up to watch Brighton get thumped 7-0, and we know how that feels. But
yeah,
7-1 is it's a shocking scoreline. It's just the fact of they were only 2-1 down at half time. They went 1-0 up in the game. They managed to. I mean, I know you're a player down, but you shouldn't concede 5 goals. I mean, that's
capitulation.
yeah, it's pretty poor, isn't it? But on your point on Notts County, they should be higher up in the table, shouldn't they? They're a better side than this at the minute, and I remember speaking about him at the start of the season. I think their manager's quite inexperienced, if I'm correct or not. But yeah, he doesn't really look like he's got the team going, does he? And another poor result against Crewe as a promotion favourite. It must concern you of how poorly they started.
Yeah, those are tough ones to take as well. 96th minute penalty. Speak about can they afford to keep stumbling? I mean, that's definitely not what you need. That's a kick in the teeth that there can be quite a hangover with. So that's definitely not what they need. Yeah, they're a weird one because we spoke about them at the start of the season. They were the team that went up with Wrexham, weren't they? And you kind of thought, all right, they're looking quite strong, and I think they started quite well in League Two.
Yeah,
That's where Wrexham went up. So it's weird that they're kind of staggering a bit and quite surprising. But to answer the question, they can't afford to keep stumbling. No, if they want to get up in this league, as with all the leagues we look at, there's quality everywhere. There's quality in all these leagues, and if you're not up to it, then it'll soon, you'll get punished, and it will soon run away. But on the flip side, you can also claw your way back in. So that's the beauty of the EFL, really. You can claw your way back in, but in terms of those automatic spaces, you're not going to be able to claw your way back in there if you keep stumbling like this.
I think just to go back briefly about Cheltenham, they were down to 9 men after 50 minutes.
Was it 9? Oh my god!
Yeah, they had 2 red cards, both double yellows, and it was 2-1 when they went down to 9 men. The 5 goals went in.
That'll be why then.
But it just shows the mentality of the players is gone. So maybe Cottrell will turn it around. I think the thing with County is that they've got this guy Martin Peterson in charge. His only experience managing was at Burton Albion when I think he was in temporary charge for January through to the end of the season. Just about kept him in League One. So I think his lack of experience at managerial level is going to be a problem for him. I mean, he played over 300 games of professional football, so mainly for Burnley, but it's a different ball game. The other side of the pitch, other side of the white line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's tough for Cheltenham at the minute, and it's tough for Notts County. But obviously, we didn't speak about them. But obviously, unbelievable result for Grimsby. Putting 7 past the team isn't the easiest thing, is it? So you got to give them credit, and they're absolutely flying in League Two. So massive credit to them. But we'll move on now to the National League. Sterling, you want to talk about how Rochdale are having a really good start to the season alongside Forest Green.
Yeah, beat Carlisle 2-0 away, which is a statement victory, really. We identified Carlisle as one of the teams that are going to be real strong contenders this season with Mark Hughes at the helm. And that's a great win for Rochdale, 2-0. I'm just going to call him Emmanuel because I don't want to try and pronounce his second name. But he scored a brace. And yeah, I mean, that puts them 4 points clear of Carlisle now. And I think just 1 point potentially off. Yeah, 1 point off Forest Green now with a game in hand. So yeah, really, really big for Rochdale, and there we did identify them as well as another team that's going to be there or thereabouts, and they're showing it with results like this. And I think, yeah, come the end of the season, they're definitely going to be maybe 1, 2, or 3 in the league.
Yeah, definitely. I saw the limbs in the away end for that game. It looked like a really good crowd for a National League game, which is really good to see. That away end went absolutely nuts when that second goal went in. But yeah, Rochdale, really good start. And as you said, I'm going to try it. Emmanuel Desawari with a brace. I think he's the league's top goal scorer, I'm pretty sure, from when I did research on Rochdale a couple of weeks ago. So with him getting another brace, I would have thought he's still very much up there on the goal scorers list. So he's clearly having an absolutely brilliant start to the season. And Rochdale, it's it's really good to see that, they're only a point behind Forest Green with 2 games in hand. So if they win their 2 games in hand, they're going to be absolutely flying, 5 points clear at the top of the table. So it's about that consistency. Consistency is so key in leagues like this. As we can see, for example, with Cheltenham, they just can't see to get a win at the minute. And we've seen it with Plymouth as well. The start they made, and they found some consistency, but they've only managed to put themselves into 15th place at the minute. So it's the fact of consistency,
Yeah,
really key, isn't it? So
it is key, and they've only lost 1 game all season. So
exactly,
and they've not drawn any, which is really the thing that's keeping them so close. Well, not keeping them so close to the wins, really, but is separating them from Forest Green. Forest Green have drawn 4 games. They've not lost one, but they've drawn 4. So actually, Rochdale losing 1, with two games in hand. Actually, it is that they've got on Forest Green. Just looking at it now, is much better. The way they're looking, that they've lost 1 game and not drawn any. So yeah, the consistency piece that you mentioned is vital there.
Yeah, and on the subject of Forest Green, they slipped up again at the weekend against York. I mean, I think we had York down as one of the early favourites, didn't we,
all had them top, yeah.
to get promoted? So it's not that much a surprise in terms of results, but pretty disappointing for Forest Green, I think. And as you say, Rochdale going such great guns at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see if Forest Green can sort of tug them back a little bit, because there's that mental promotion system that they've got down there, which means just the top club go up guaranteed, don't they? And everybody else is just thrown into the playoff mix there, and goodness knows what could happen in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Their form's been okay, Forest Green, in terms of their form, but it's just getting a bit of consistency together, I think.
Yeah, I mean, speaking on Forest Green, they got Worthing in the cup, didn't they? Which we'll touch on in a minute, but that'll be a really good game to go and watch. But I think it's going to be a really tight title race this season. I think it will be a high scoring league just because of how much quality teams near the top of the table have, and Forest Green and York have lots of that quality in this league, especially York with some of the signings they've made and just the players we're aware of in general. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see with York's new manager, obviously, them pushing back up into the playoff title spots come the end of the season. It really wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm just going to touch on briefly before we move on to the National League South how Yeovil, who've earned 2 wins since last episode, a win on Saturday and a win on Tuesday against Sutton and Altrincham. It's 3 wins on the bounce for them now. Do you think they're good enough for a playoff spot? Because, they're quite a big club, aren't they? I think they're in the Championship just not that long ago. So it wouldn't be surprising to see them earn a playoff spot just because of the calibre of the club.
Yeah, I had Yeovil up in and amongst it with our prediction, so I think they could definitely be there come the end of the season. But as Dad said before, it's tough to be gauging who's going to be thereabouts. But I do think so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, won't it? Because you've got so many big teams in this league now, haven't you? In terms of how big of a club they are: Yeovil, Rochdale, Scunthorpe, Hartlepool, York, Forest Green. List goes on, doesn't it? Clubs in this league are just this league sort of improving in like how big clubs are that are joining into this league, and it's sort of growing in popularity because of that, if you get what I mean, because of how many big clubs are in this division. So the overall them, aren't they? So
I think
Gina
they're probably not in the same bracket as your Rochdales and your Carlisle, though, in terms of the fact they are only a Football League club for 16 years, and they were a non-league club for a long time before they were a league club. But yeah, I mean, like we said way back in the first episode, I think it's surprising the number of full-time clubs in that division.
Yeah.
They really are fighting themselves, really. The frustrating thing about the National League is that the games are on DAZN, and although we've got a DAZN subscription, we've got to pay extra to watch the National League games, which means we're not going to watch the National League games. But if it was, if we could have watched them with the DAZN subscription, we probably would have dipped into a couple of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's annoying, isn't it? But what can you do? I mean, you don't want to pay that extra money, do you? I can't imagine how much extra it would be.
£20 already a month or something like that, so I think it's an extra tenner at least.
We've got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. But Morgan Williams is a top centre half for Yeovil. Touching back on them, he's been at the club for a long time. Even I watched him when they played Eastbourne Borough in the National League South. He's been there since then, and he's a class centre half. But they're just outside the playoffs at the minute. But their run of form just made me want to bring it up, just on the basis of how big of a club they are, and they probably should be in and around these spots in the table, shouldn't they? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on for the rest of the season. So, we'll have to wait and see for that. But we will move on to the National League South. Might be quite brief on this section here, just because of the fact of there was FA Cup qualifying games. But Sterling, you wanted to talk about how Hornchurch, who started off absolutely incredibly, held to a draw at home to Dover on Saturday.
Yeah, 0-0 draw to Dover. Dover touched on them last week, I think. They've been quite surprising, as well as Hornchurch, but that's obvious. But Dover, yeah, good result for them. Definitely the happier of the two. They sit in 8th. And yeah, it was definitely a disappointing result for Hornchurch, being top of the league. They still remain unbeaten, so they'll be happy with that. But that does mean they're only 2 points ahead of second with an extra game played. So Western-super-Mare is in second. They'll be looking at that as they've slipped up a bit, and they can get up into top spot. They'll be hoping. So yeah, I was surprised by that result, and the question is really, can Hornchurch keep it up, or are the teams that we expected to be up there come the end of the season, Worthing, Dorking, etc., can they kind of start to close the gap?
Exactly. Yeah, I think it was the only league game, wasn't it, in this league? Yeah. The 0-0 draw. But Hornchurch being unbeaten still, which is a massive statement in itself, isn't it, to the league in general, and how surprising it would be for clubs like Dorking, Worthing, Dagenham and Redbridge, that's it, and other clubs. So,
Did you say Worthing have got Forest Green in the FA Cup?
Yeah,
Worthing. Is it Worthing?
Yeah, Worthing got Forest Green.
At Worthing?
Huh? At Worthing.
Oh, we'll try and get to that.
We'll definitely try and get to that.
11th of October.
Yeah, we'll definitely try and get to that. Dover are another team who've come up from the league below, who've started off really well in the league, haven't they? It's massive credit to that league and how good of a quality that division is. You mentioned just then, Sterling, about Western-super-Mare, but Simon, you want to talk about how there's been a change in management.
Yeah, Scott Bartlett. As obviously I touched on Western's last week and the strong start they'd made, and it's obviously caught the eye of Eastleigh because they put him in charge straight away after sacking the previous incumbent. The caretaker manager has just sent out the same team that had played on the previous weekend, and they beat Poole. But I just wonder, we know how much changes at this level in terms of management can affect the squad. It's unlikely that he's going to take loads and loads of players from Western to Eastleigh. I don't think that's going to happen, but it might take one or two key players, and it could end up upturning their season. So it'll be interesting to see what effect that has, especially if Hornchurch going so well. That sort of destabilisation could lead to a spiral at West.
Yeah, it's not what they needed when they started the season so well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a good appointment, you would have thought, from Eastleigh, especially because of how well Western-super-Mare have started. You wouldn't have thought they'd be near the title winning spots. I know you predicted them near the playoffs, didn't you, Sterling, at the start of the season? But they were near a title winning spot.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
With Scott Bartlett. So it will be interesting to see how he gets on at Eastleigh, because it's a step up, obviously, another step up in management. So it'll be even trickier for him to pick up results. So
I have to keep an eye on it,
yeah, definitely have to keep an eye on that now that we've got that in our information. But we'll just touch on briefly how Worthing got their 3-0 win away at Wimborne to take themselves into the next round. But they got Forest Green at home in the cup. I reckon that will be a big crowd for that game, seeing as Brighton aren't playing on that day. I checked as well. So how good of a game do you reckon that will be? And it will be good to see just a National League side play in general. I don't think we've watched one this season, have we? So it'll be good to see, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be able to go personally because I'm going to my mate Alex Hook's fight. Bloody messed up his name. Yeah, he's fighting, so I'm not going to be there.
Good
But
luck.
yeah, we'll be.
Good luck, Alex. I said.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Alex, a little bit of PR for him. Go follow him up and follow his journey. But yeah, it should be a good game for Worthing and Forest Green.
Yeah, I've looked forward to that. I mean, it's the round before the first round proper, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
if
can
they win
imagine Forest
first
Green
round,
will be looking to win that game.
yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how Robbie Savage plays, wouldn't it? Because
Yeah, the style of football.
really, the way he's playing at the minute, it's absolutely. I mean, they're unbeaten in the minute in the National League, so be interesting to see the sort of football he plays. So yeah, I think it will definitely be one for me and you to get out to, Simon, when tickets get released. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But we'll finally move on to the Isthmian Premier Division. Sterling, I know you wanted to touch on just the tragic death of Billy Vigar. Absolutely horrible death. But yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we like to speak about Lewis in this league, and their game against Chichester was rightly so postponed. And really, just say rest in peace, Billy Vigar. It's just terrible news. Nobody should die on a football field, and it's just tragic. Everyone at Chichester is going to be torn to bits, and see all of us send our best regards to his family and friends and everyone at Chichester.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to touch on. I think it was a brick wall around the
Yeah.
ground,
At
around the
Woodgate,
pitch.
yeah, awful.
Yeah, which is how it happened, and there's been petitions going around to
Yeah,
stop this happening, and
100%.
it is really it's stupid. It's contact sport, it's competitive sport, and we know how good these levels are. The players are hungry; they want to win the game. So these things can happen where you're going to get shoved into the side. And yes, it's a freak accident and a horrible thing, but that something needs to change with that. But it's just gutted, really.
Yeah,
Very young lad to die, and just wanted to say rest in peace.
100%. Wasn't that long ago I was watching him at Eastbourne Borough, on loan from Arsenal Academy, who Arteta sent his best wishes to him and his family in his latest press conference. So it's just awful, isn't it? I mean, the wall was, if you see the ground at Wingate and Fitchley, the wall's literally just behind the goal. So I can't, it's just such a tragic death that on a football pitch you're dying. It just shouldn't happen. It's so sad to even say the words, isn't it? That someone's died on
Yeah.
a pitch to a brick wall. So absolutely tragic death, and we send our love massively over to Billy's family. I think one of my teachers actually was really close to his family because he teached in PE at I can't remember where, but he said that to me in a sports science lesson I had. So clearly, it's affected a lot of people around this area, especially and across the country. So massively send our wishes to him, Gonzalo.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely tragic. The thing that frustrates me really is that it takes something like this happening for for the safety measures to be put in place.
Shocking.
If you remember back in 2014, you probably don't remember, but an Australian cricketer died.
Yeah.
He got hit in the back of the neck by a
Oh, no.
ball in a Sheffield Shield match, and he got hit by the ball and he was dead 15 seconds later. And it took that happening before cricket authorities not so much cricket authorities, I think it was the Players Association, redesigned the helmet so that it had the flaps at the back.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of baseball, and baseball sometimes the balls get hit back at the pitcher. And I watched a game earlier on this season where the pitcher turned his back on the ball and it hit him right in the middle of the back of his head. And they were talking on the game, and it was 100 miles an hour the ball. They were talking in the game about how he was lucky it hit him there, and he had to go off with concussion, obviously. But I just thought to myself that if an inch either way could have killed him, and I think it's going to come into baseball. Someone's going to end up getting killed, and then they will start talking about how to improve safety. But it shouldn't come down to this. I mean, you think of all the health and safety nonsense that clubs go through, and nobody thought, oh, we've got a brick wall behind the goal, we better do something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very, very right. It shouldn't.
Yeah, well, let's move on to some better news. In fact, we'll talk about Dartford. They remain unbeaten in their last 6, and that continued this week with two positive results. You could say a really good result at Cheshunt and a 3-3 draw last night versus Burgess Hill. They were high up the table last season, weren't they? So do you reckon their unbeaten run is starting to get them to where they were last season, kind of?
Because that unbeaten run involves drawing games, draw, win, draw. You can't get up to those playoff places
With draws.
with draws. You've got to be winning games. I mean,
Yeah.
I was going to talk briefly about Folkestone and Victor because they were 2-0 down at Horsham and then came back to win that FA Cup qualifying game 3-2, which is a great result for them. And they got a really nice tie in the next round against Southend. So I think that'd be a good game for them. So, but I mean, we're talking about the difference between Dartford and Folkestone is that Dartford and Folkestone, one team's drawing loads of games and the other team's winning loads of games, and Folkestone's still unbeaten in the league this season. So they're basically the standard you've got to be looking at.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And it's credit to Folkestone because they've beaten 2 National League sides on their way to their game against Southend away now. They beat Horsham, obviously, on the weekend, and they beat Maidstone at home 2-0. So it's massive credit to them, and they've been doing so well recently. They're second in the Isthmian Premier Division, I can remember. A really good start for them. Touching on Dartford, I completely agree with you, Simon, because, you can be 6 games unbeaten, which I wanted to talk about because of the way they started the season before. The only reason they're in, I think it's like 13th or so, is just because of how poorly they started. I think they only picked up a few points from their first couple of games, so it's the fact of even just picking up a few points at the minute. It's a good thing for them at the minute. They've scored 2+ goals in the last out of their last 6 games. 5 times they scored 2+ goals, so they're clearly entertaining the crowd a bit. Ollie Box is on fire with 6 goals. But one thing I wanted to talk about is they've got 6 red cards in the league so far this season. That's absolutely mental. 6 red cards. What are they doing? It's mad, that.
They're moving like Chelsea.
Yeah, yeah, just dragging him down straight to the floor. But yeah, I think that's a good way to end it, isn't it? Really, touching on Dartford and Folkestone, and obviously sending our massively best wishes over to Billy Vigar and his family. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching this episode. We do very much appreciate it. We will be back next Thursday for our 10th episode, going to double figures. Come on. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Another one covering the 7 leagues, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully it's a reasonable time to listen, and thank you from me. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.